But when they join the industry, then there will be, or there is a problem that they are not knowing about the chemical substances or some of the hazardous or toxic substances which they have to handle in the chemical industry, because normally in the chemical industries or in chemical allied industries we are working in the production department and sometimes in the other department like design, R&D, etc. When the students are joined and working in the production or other department, when they are going to handle these chemicals, then in case of incident, near miss or accident, they always face a problem that what to do with that particular chemical if there is a leakage, if there is a spillage, or if there is a contact of that chemical to skin or to any part of a body in a person. So what exactly we must do, that should be known to that person, that should be known to that chemical engineer, and that is a lacuna or loophole in our syllabus, that in the diploma or degree of any type of syllabus, the MSDS is not having the focus or the detailed knowledge. And that is why we must know the MSDS, that is as a chemical engineer, to handle this chemical, to store these chemicals in an appropriate storage or in an appropriate location with respect to specific parameters like pressure, temperature, humidity, etc. And before that, we must know the different properties of these chemicals. And the MSDS is nothing but a technical document where you find the detailed and comprehensive information about this, that is the health effect data, the hazard evaluation data, the risk of exposure, the emergency procedures, the first aid procedures, and how to control in case of accidents. So this MSDS basically a safety data sheet or MSDS technical document where you get the detailed and comprehensive information about that control product, about the chemical substance, about the hazardous substance, about the toxic substance. So normally, if the substances are not non-toxic, non-hazardous, then we may not find any problem in handling, storing, or in processing. But when the substance is hazardous, toxic, or any other nature which can adversely impact on our health, on our environment, then we must take care about this handling procedure of these chemicals, right? So this data or MSDS gives us the different aspects. So if the chemical substance exposure is more, then what will be the effect on our health? That is nothing but the health effect data. If I am having the exposure of a particular chemical for 15 minutes, then what will be happen? If I am having the exposure of a chemical for 1 hour, for 2 hours, then what will happen? Because this is the situation in student life also, that when we are studying the practicals of some specific subjects and when we are handling these chemicals, then before handling this chemical, we must know that what exactly these physical, chemical, or reactive properties of these chemicals. So for safe handling of these chemicals, even though if it is in the ml or in the milligram or gram, but we should know the what exactly the maximum permissible limit of that particular chemical to handle in that particular manner, right? Because some chemicals are in the solid phase, some are in liquid, and some are in the gaseous. And some liquids are converted into vapors or in the gas when the temperature is high, or when the vapor pressure may be high, or some of the pressure parameters. And some chemicals are also acidic in nature. Some chemicals are having the pH value less than 7, and that is why we must know the corrosive properties also. So there are lots of properties that should be known to a chemical engineer before handling, storing, or processing a particular chemical, right? And that is why this MSDS should be known to every chemical engineer, right? So what is the risk of this exposure? If after 15 minutes, what will be happen? if I have inhaled a particular chemical, then what may happen? What is the risk of this inhaling? If I digest some chemical unintentionally, unknowingly, then what will be happen? Then we should know the risk of exposure. That may be a low risk chemical, that may be a moderate risk, that may be a high risk exposure, right? So in case of this type of incident happen, then what should we know about the corrective actions? So for that purpose, industries are always taken care for the emergency situation, or that is called as on-site emergency plans and off-site emergency plans. So some emergency procedures are already noted down, already work out in the industry, but that should be known to that chemical engineer, that should be known to that worker or employee where we are handling this type of chemicals. So these emergency procedures are also note down in this MSDS document. Then in case of accident, in case of inhalation, in case of skin contact, in case of irritations in eyes, irritation in skins, or any type of problem, what should be the first aid process? So this first aid process is also mentioned in this MSDS. And after first aid process, after protecting that worker, what to do about that chemical, how to control that particular chemical, how to control the reaction of that chemical, etc. All these things are noted down in the technical document that is called as MSDS, that is Material Safety Data Sheet. Sometimes this MSDS is also called as SDS, that is Safety Data Sheet, right? So I think that you now understand what exactly the MSDS is or SDS is, right? Now, why the industries are going to refer these MSDS? Now in India, or our Indian mentality is like that, unless and until there is a law, there is a compulsion, there is enforcement from the central government or state government, we are not going to follow any type of rule, right? So in the COVID pandemic situation also, we are not going to wear mask unless and until it is forced by the government. We are not going to wear helmet unless and until the state or central government is going to force. So central motor vehicle rule is there, motor vehicle rule is there. So all these rules are made for to protect the people only, right? In the same way, to protect, to prevent from these hazardous or toxic properties from the chemicals, there is a rule that is called as MSISC, that is manufacture, storage, import and hazardous chemical, right? So to manufacture any type of hazardous chemical, to store any type of hazardous chemical, to import any type of hazardous chemical, there is a rule that is called as MSISC rule, which is designed in 1989. And if you refer the rule number 17 of this MSISC rule, then you can find out that it is clearly mentioned that every manufacturer, every supplier, every employer must have the MSDS, that is Material Safety Data Sheet, in their documents, right? So that should be known to every employee, especially those who are handling this type of chemicals. So this rule is made in 1989, but still the 100% execution is awaiting, right? So some of the chemical industries, especially multinational companies or the large scale companies, are doing this activity, are showing this activity, are making this MSDS in English language, in local language, sometimes in Marathi or Hindi language, to understand the properties, the hazard, the risk, the health hazard, the risk of exposure, how to control it, what are the first aid measures, how to fight in case of fire, how to fight or face the problem in case of emergency. So all these things are known to each and every employee, and that is why this rule is made. So rule is there, it means it is essential, it is mandatory, it is compulsory to all types of companies who are going to manufacture, storage or import these types of hazardous chemicals, right? So normally in the industries, if you find out in the Maharashtra state, there is a rule that is called as Maharashtra Factory Rule 1963. So at the national level, there is a act that is called as Factory Act 1948. So this is a Factory Act is a Bible for the all types of industry who are guiding to the industries for all rules and regulations. And for the state government, for the Maharashtra state, there is a rule that is Maharashtra Factory Rule 1963. So as per as this MFR 1963 is also concerned, there is a rule that is rule number 73M, where it is also clearly mentioned that in the Maharashtra state, all types of companies who are manufacturing, storing, importing or handling these types of chemical must prepare the MSDS. That MSDS should be known to each and every employee to protect the person, to protect the damage to the properties, or to control that particular hazard, to control the risk, to reduce the risk, etc. So these are the legal requirements for this MSDS, and these are the standards. Now, the basic difference between the legal requirement and standard is standards are not essential or mandatory to all companies. Suppose if my company wants to go for ISO 14001 certification, then and then only I am going for the or following the rules and regulation that is normally called as clauses. So these clauses should be followed by that company for this particular type of certification. So this is Environment Management System ISO 14001 2004. Now it changed or amended, and the basic criteria is nothing but it focuses on the environment management system. So for the ISO certification, for the value addition for that particular company, the clause number 4.31, 4.32 and 4.47 clearly mentions that MSDS is required for the calculations, for the change or check the aspects or impacts of these types of chemicals on the environment. What are the legal requirements? What are the emergency preparedness and response procedures? So all these points, these 3 points are included, where indirectly clear mention that MSDS is required in this ISO 14001, right? Now there is another standard that is called as OSHA's 18001. It is actually focuses on the safety standards. So those company who are wants to go for this ISO 18001 certification. So in that 18001 also, clause number 4.31, 2 and 7 also clearly mentions that the MSDS is required for identification of hazards, identification of risk in the company where the OSHA certification is required. So it is a similar way, but here it is the focus of environment. Now here it is the focus of safety, that is hazards and risk, right? So in the standards also, that is in the ISO 14001 and in 18001 also, it is mentioned that MSDS should be MSDS should be prepared. So I think that you can understand now what exactly the MSDS is and what are the legal requirements, what are the international certification requirement in 14,000 and 18,000. Now from this discussion, now you can clearly understand what exactly the purpose of this MSDS is. So MSDS purpose is the alert information should be provided to the worker. So what is that alert information? So there should be some label, there should be some symbol, there should be some sign that this particular chemical is poisonous, this particular chemical is toxic, this particular chemical is flammable, this particular chemical is explosive, so that we can understand that this chemical should be isolated from the direct sunlight, this chemical should be isolated from the furnace or where the temperature is on the higher side, right? So this alert information should be provided to all the employees through the labels, through some instructions or signs on the MSDS. So that is the main purpose of this MSDS. So another purpose is to educate the employees for hazard information, right? So each and every employee who is going to handle, who is going to do the work related to that particular chemical must know the hazard related activity, the hazard criteria, the risk level and the severity of hazard before happening any type of an accident. Or in case if unknowingly, if it is happen, then how to control this type of incident or accident, right? So for that purpose, we must do this MSDS preparation. That is the main purpose of this data sheet. Now, who is responsible to prepare this MSDS? There are legal requirement. There is a requirement in the ISO certification. We know that what is the purpose of this MSDS. But who is going to prepare? Who is responsible for this preparing the MSDS? Now, the main responsible persons are nothing but the suppliers. So if I'm going to purchase any type of chemical for my manufacturing process, for processing process, for dilution process, or for some modification in some types of chemicals, then I have to purchase from a particular company that is generally called as supplier. So who is going to supply that chemical? That is called as supplier. So the responsibility to prepare this MSDS, to supply this MSDS to another company is the responsibility of supplier only, right? So if the MSDS is not prepared by the supplier, then they can obtain from the authentic sites, authentic sources, that may be a state government, that may be a central government, or any type of company or agency where they are clearly mentioned that this particular company or agency is certified by this government or by the agency or a body, right? So you can develop a MSDS or you can obtain the MSDS of the control product or that particular chemical from various sources. Now this MSDS clearly disclose the information currently at the time of sale of importation of the product. So whenever you are going to sell that particular product or chemical, or whenever you are going to import that particular chemical or product, then that date should be clearly mentioned, because in this MSDS it is clearly one of the condition that the date not more than 3 years before. So each and every 3 years the MSDS should be updated. That updated information should be included, modified or changed in the MSDS, and that updated MSDS should be supplied to other employers or the manufacturers or importer, etc. Right? So that date is also important, like our expiry date on the medicine, expiry date on the foods product, etc. So we are always going to check the expiry date on the food, expiry date on the medicines, right? So in the MSDS case also, there is a criteria that this data should be before 3 years only, right? So it can be available in the English language, it can be available in the Marathi or Hindi or any type of local language. If the state is different, if it is Tamil, then Tamil language should be used. If it is MP, UP, Bihar side, then it should be prepared in the Hindi language. Because generally, when we are talking about these properties of MSDS or some points of MSDS, and if you are talking about in English, then the manager officer or the engineer level people are only knowing about the properties and how to control that. But generally it happens in the industries that the uneducated or less educated people are handling these chemicals, and that is why these MSDS also should prepare in the local languages. Because what exactly the MSDS is, what is the criteria of that MSDS is, what is the legal requirement of MSDS, that is not important for the workers or helpers level. The important thing is that how to handle safely these types of chemicals, how to handle the spillage, leakage of this type of chemicals, how to handle the fire hazard, explosive hazard, or how to reduce the any type of risk for handling, storing, or processing that particular type of chemicals. So that is the important factor from that worker helper point of view, and that is why this MSDS should also prepared in the local languages to understand by the worker and helper, right? Then it should be clearly mentioned in the MSDS that there is an exception for the confidential information that is called as trade secret in the industries. So that trade secret is nothing but the particular formula of a chemical product, or a particular percentage or concentration of chemical product, or some adhesives or some binders or some other chemicals which are going to mix in basic or raw material, but company don't want to disclose that information. That is called as trade secret. So sometimes if you observe in the pharmaceutical or food companies, they are always saying that food product A or raw material A plus raw material B, that gives a particular product like biscuits or like other products, right? So they don't want to disclose that particular information like formula or a particular name or a particular concentration of that particular chemical. But for the MSDS, if in case of accident, if the doctors or occupational health centers or some nurses or some medical emergency people wants to know about this concentration, wants to know about the name of that particular chemical or the formula of that chemical, then it is necessary, it is compulsory to that supplier, manufacturer or employee to give that particular information to protect that worker, right? But in other cases, if there is no accident, then there is exception in this MSDS that this trade secret or confidential information is not going to disclose. That is not the mandatory condition. So this is the responsibility of the supplier. Now, the next responsible person is employer. So when we are going to join the company, that is nothing but we are employee of this industry. And the owner, the partner, the board of directors, or the factory manager, or whatever we call the person who are having 100% control on that company is called as employer. So the next responsibility is of employer. So when employer is going to purchase some chemicals, then his or her responsibility to have that MSDS from the supplier. If supplier refuses to give or supply the MSDS for that chemical substance, then it's responsibility of employer to prepare that MSDS for that chemical, because it's responsibility of employer only that to protect all workers or employees from that chemical hazards, right? So again, there is a same condition that it should be updated MSDS in the 3 years. So within 3 years, you should update all the data with reference to the amendment rules and regulation, with reference to the different accident studies or accident investigation analysis, which happens nearby our companies or in the state or in the countries or in other countries also. So we have to update some information from various types of accident investigation reports, and we must update this information in our MSDS. So that MSDS must be updated by the supplier. If it is not the case, then that should be updated by the employer. Generally, it is provided or it is guided by the government that the maintain up-to-date MSDS as soon as practical, but not later than 90 days after new hazard information becomes available to the employer. If some central government, state government or reputed agency give you the information about some of the chemicals that this new hazard information is innovated by this type of scientist or innovated by this type of company, or some R&D work is going on, and from this R&D work conclusion, this new hazard is there, which is not mentioned in the previous MSDS, so that should be included in the MSDS within 90 days. So that is a request from the government agencies, and it is a mandatory condition that it should be updated within 3 years. So the employer's responsibility is that all information should be given to the worker. So all types of hazards, that may be a health hazard, that may be a fire hazard, that may be an explosion hazard, that may be a mechanical type of hazard, that may be a physical type of hazard, that may be a radiation hazard, that may be a chemical hazard. All types of hazards, all types of risk, and their protection methods, their first aid methods, their controlling methods or treatment method should be known to each and every worker. So this is the responsibility of the employer. Another responsibility of the employer that the occupational health center must know the all types of properties of this particular type of chemical, right? So occupational health center means what? Actually, in the large scale companies or in the multinational companies, or where normally more than 1,000 employees are there in that particular type of company or industry, generally there is a local clinic or hospital that is called as occupational health center. Occupational health center is normally designed for regular treatment, or it is called as pre-medical treatment, pre-medical checkup, during medical, that is you are working in the organization, and if you find some problem in your body, that may be a headache, that may be a body injury, that may be a backache, or any other type of injuries or some issues related to the health, then these occupational health center doctors and the staff can check you and can give you some medicines or the treatments. So authentic doctors are provided in that occupational health center, and certifying surgeon is the main authority that is from the state government, and he is having or she is having overall control on the doctors or the staff under these occupational health centers. So you must provide all this information which is related to the chemicals to the occupational health center also, because in case of accident or incident, if the chemical spillage is there or chemical leakage is there, and this chemical contact to the eyes, or if chemical contacted to your skin, or if chemical is inhaled by you and that goes in the inhalation or in the lungs or respiration systems, then what to do? So the doctor can treat you in a proper way, in a right direction, when that particular doctor understand which type of chemical, what type of concentration of that particular chemical is, and what exactly the antidote or what exactly the medicinal treatment is there, right? If there is no information available to that occupational health center or to the doctors, then they are going to judge or predict the type of symptoms, but that prediction may be wrong, and for that purpose only all the types of chemicals and their properties indirectly this MSDS should be provided to the occupational health center, and doctor can ask you from where or which department you are working in. So from that department they are knowing that this type of chemicals are going to handle, and this type of chemical are having this type of antidotes. So that is nothing but the reverse of that particular chemicals to neutralize. Generally we are knowing about the titration process. So in the titration also acid is going to react with alkali, and acid is going to react to alkali, or alkali is going to react acid, but the final conclusion is nothing but the neutralizations. So that may be a pink to white or white to pink, that we are knowing in the laboratories. In the same way these antidotes are working. So for that particular chemical dose, some other chemical dose, that is nothing but the medicine should be given to that particular patient, right? So this is the responsibility of the employer. Now the third person, that is nothing but the worker, that is the persons who have joined that industry, that is called as worker. So with reference to the Factory Act 1948, each and every person is worker. So he or she may be a manager, he or she may be an engineer, he or she may be a worker, helper, supervisor, etc. So all employees are nothing but worker. So the responsibility is not of that only worker or helper what you are thinking of, but the worker definition is nothing but that is a manager, that is a MD, GM, DGM, all types of heads, etc. So the responsibility of worker is to follow the safe work or preventive measures as instructed by the employer. So we know, we discuss about this, the responsibilities of the employer, and the responsibility of employer is to give the information to the all types of employees or worker. Now, some instructions are or some safety operating guidelines or standard operating guidelines are also given by the employer to the worker, and our responsibility, that is worker responsibility, is to follow all these safe working procedures, and all the preventive measures should be taken out, right? So that is the responsibility of the worker. Now, second responsibility is that worker should know where the MSDS is located, right? If there are more than one MSDS, then you should know the exact location of that MSDS to refer that MSDS in case of any type of accident, right? In case of any type of leakage, spillage, or any type of contact with our body. So we must immediately refer that MSDS. We must immediately can refer the first aid process, the first aid treatment, and then accordingly we must go for that first aid treatment. And after the first aid measures, we should go for the how to control that accident now, how to control that chemicals now, right? So these are the different responsibilities of the workers. So these are the main three designations of the people who is the supplier, that is employer, and worker are responsible. All these people must know about the MSDS, right? Now, what exactly the MSDS contents are? Basically, there are two types of MSDS. Globally, the MSDS is a European MSDS, or it is also called as US MSDS, and in India, with reference to the MSIC rule, with reference to the MFR rule, we are following the Indian MSDS, right? So there are two types of MSDS, that is one is European or US, and second is Indian MSDS. So as far as the India is concerned, as far as the Maharashtra state is concerned, there are 10 points, that is nothing but the 10 sections. So in the MSDS, generally the MFR and MSIC rule are calling it as sections instead of points. Normally, the students are called it as points, but it is a section, right? So there are 10 sections in this Indian MSDS. So these 10 sections are, that is hazardous ingredient, then preparation information, product information, physical data, fire and explosion hazard, reactivity data, toxicology properties, preventive measures, first aid measures, and disclaimer. So these are the 10 sections or 10 points involved in the Indian MSDS. So you can understand from these different naming itself that this is clearly showing that hazardous properties. This is clearly showing that who is going to prepare. This is clearly showing that the information related to the product. This is clearly showing that physical data like melting point, boiling point, density, specific gravity, vapor density, etc. Then this fifth section clearly mentioned that it is data related, the fire hazard and explosion hazard. Then what is the reaction of that particular chemical with other chemicals? That is nothing but the reactivity property, and this data is given in the section 6. Then toxic. So toxic is one of the property of chemicals. So if the chemical is a toxic nature, then all these types of properties involved in the 7th section. How to prevent these types of chemicals? So that is mentioned in the 8th section. And what is the first aid procedure, first aid treatment after happening an accident? That is given in the ninth section. So other information other than this ninth section can be mentioned in the 10th section, that is called as disclaimer. So this is a brief idea where the Indian MSDS contents are. So we can discuss some of the points from that sections. So this first section clearly mentioned that it should contains the chemical name and concentration. Suppose the chemical is acetone, suppose the chemical is chlorine, suppose the chemical is ethyl alcohol. So nowadays in the pandemic situation, we are using ethyl alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, or the mixture of ethyl alcohol and isopropyl alcohol. But as a chemical engineer, we must know what exactly the percentage should be in the ethyl alcohol to sanitize our hands, to sanitize the things for protecting us from the coronavirus. So the percentage of that particular chemical is also important, and that is the simple example in this pandemic situation. So we know that from the WHO and government sides, we can understand that 60% plus alcohol should be there, then and then only it is effective for the coronavirus, right? In the same way, we must know all the chemical name, all the concentrations of the chemicals, and their LD50, LC50 values and case number. So what exactly this LD50 and LC50 value is? So LD50 is nothing but lethal dose 50%, and LC50 is nothing but lethal concentration 50%, right? What does it mean? Normally, before finalizing any type of medicals or medicines, we must go through the test that should be done on the rats or rabbits. That is, the medical medicines are going to test on the rats or rabbits or different types of animals which are similar to the human beings. And if in case of, suppose I'm giving an example, suppose there is a chlorine and the chlorine percentage in the atmosphere or in the air is 5 ppm, and if there are 10 rats in a particular compartment, and if that 5 ppm atmosphere is given to that compartment or maintain that compartment, and due to this 5 ppm chlorine, if minimum 5 or more than 5 rats are killed, then it is called as lethal concentration 50 value or lethal dose 50 value. What does it mean? It is the meaning that 50% of the rats or the animals or the rabbits are killed due to this type of concentration, right? So the 5 ppm is the maximum permissible limit. 5 ppm is the criteria where we can understand that after 5 ppm or more than 5 ppm, this chemical is very toxic. It is very dangerous to our health, and this is designed from these types of test or experiments. So if it is a solid chemical, then normally it is in terms of LD50 value, and it is generally represented in terms of mg per meter cube or mg per centimeter cube. That is milligrams per meter cubes. So if it is in the liquid form or concentration or gaseous form, normally it is in terms of LC50 value. So the meaning of LD50 and LC50 is near about same. The concept is same. Only the condition is that whether it is in the solid form, whether it is in the liquid or gaseous form. Then there is another point that is called as CAS number. So chemical abstract service number. So CAS means chemical abstract service number. Why it is essential? Because there are many chemicals which are having similar names, or some of the chemicals having or sounding the similar nature or the characteristics, but they are not the same, or they are not having the same characteristics or the properties. Suppose nowadays we are purchasing this sanitizer, that is the simple example. We are believing on that medical shopper, and whatever the sanitizer he has given, we will purchase it and we will sanitize our hands or body with the help of that sanitizer. But what exactly the percentage is? So whether it is ethyl alcohol, whether it is isopropyl alcohol, whether it is a rubbing alcohol, or whether it is a mixture of ethyl alcohol and isopropyl alcohol. The common person are not going to bother about all these things. But as a chemical engineer, for handling these types of chemicals, for handling these types of hazards or risks, we must know a specific name or a formula or the properties of these chemicals. And that is why this CAS number is given. So this CAS number is a unique number at a global level, means even if you go in US, UK or Canada or any type of country, the CAS number is same. Whether you are naming it as ethyl alcohol, whether you are naming it as ethanol, whether you are naming it as isopropyl alcohol or isopropanol or rubbing alcohol, whatever it may be. But the number is unique. So with the help of that number, with reference to that number, you can understand the properties of that particular chemical is. What is the formula, what is the molecular weight, what is the chemical structure, and etc. Now in the second section, that is preparation information, obviously who is going to or who have prepared this MSDS. So that data is required in this second section. What is the date of that MSDS, when you have prepared this MSDS, and when you have updated this MSDS. Because our criteria is that minimum 3 years criteria is there, that you should update this MSDS within 3 years. In case of any change or in any new hazards involved or included in that particular chemical, then you should update that MSDS within 90 days, right? So all these rules and regulations or guidelines should be followed, and it should be updated in the second section of this MSDS, that is preparation information. Then in the third section, that is product information, you can understand from the name itself that the name of product, the name of chemical, who is going to supply this chemical, what is the name of that particular chemical, family name also, formula, etc. All these information should be given in the section 3. And side by side, there should be mentioned that what exactly the emergency telephone numbers are. So in case of any type of accident, spillage, any type of incidents or near miss, you should know where we must call, where or whom to contact. So that is why the product identifier, the manufacturer, the supplier name, address, and the emergency telephone number should be known to everyone. And that is why in the third section, all these numbers should be given. In the fourth section, that is called as physical data. So you know the physical properties of any type of chemicals. So that is odor, appearance, specific gravity, vapor density, evaporation rate, boiling point, freezing point, pH, etc. So all these physical properties are having their specific importance, and we must know the properties of a particular chemical. Say for example, if there is a chemical, if it is a leakage in your industry of that particular chemical, and the density of that chemical is more than air, then you must guide that you have to follow the guidelines from the safety officer or the expertise or the persons who are having the knowledge about that chemical. Because generally in the emergency situation, in the evacuation procedure, we are always running in the exit direction for assembly. But when the chemicals are going to leak, when the chemicals are leaking and these chemicals are highly denser than the air, then obviously these chemicals are going to store on the bottom side. And at the bottom side, the severity or the risk is more. So we must run away, or we must guide to the people that you should go on a upward direction, because the air is there and the gas is there at the bottom side. So likewise, there are number of examples, number of accidents and incidents where you can understand what is the importance of this physical data. Then in the fifth section, here the information is given related to the fire hazards and explosion hazards. So you should know the upper explosive limit or the lower explosive limit or the upper flammable limit and lower flammable limits of that particular chemical, because these numbers or the percentage clearly indicates that what are the chances of fire in case of particular temperature, in case of particular oxygen level or any type of fuel leakage. So what are the chances of an explosion? What are the chances of fire? So that depends on the upper explosive limit or lower explosive limit or upper flammable limit and lower flammable limits of that chemical. So these percentage with respect to that temperature and pressure condition should be note down in the section 5. Now, depending on the type of chemical, depending on the flammability or highly inflammable chemical, highly explosive chemical, low explosive chemical, etc., we have to select a type of fire extinguisher. So there are different types of fire extinguisher. That may be a portable, that may be a fixed, that may be a fire extinguisher that is dry chemical powder, that may be a carbon dioxide type, that may be a halon type, that may be a water type, that may be a mechanical foam type. So there are lots of fire extinguishers available in the industry, but we have to select appropriate fire extinguisher type, and that selection is mainly depend on the characteristics which we must know in this section 5, that is fire data, right? So on the basis of this fire or explosion data also, or the characteristics of these chemicals also, we should select appropriate PP, that is personal protective equipment. So for handling the acids, we must wear the acid proof gloves. For handling some alkalis, we must wear the glasses or goggles. For handling the oxygen deficient atmosphere or the chemicals like nitrogen which are going to replace the oxygen, so which may create the oxygen deficient atmosphere and we may feel the suffocation or asphyxiations, and that is why we must adopt the self-contained breathing apparatus or the oxygen cylinder apparatus. So all these things are depends on the conditions, and these conditions can be predict or calculated on the basis of this type of data. Then where and how to store the chemicals. So we have already discussed that highly flammable, highly explosive chemicals should be avoided to store in the direct sunlight, should be avoided or isolated from the furnaces, boiler, heat exchanger, etc., where the temperature is high. And likewise, this condition can be predicted, and we must store these types of chemical in isolated places with a proper distance, and all these things are depends on this type of data which is under section 5. Then in the section 6, from this diagram you can clearly understand what exactly the data is there, that is reactivity data. So this diamond is actually is of NFPA diamond, which clearly indicates a scale from 0 to 4. So 0 indicates the normal material and 4 indicates the deadly material. So it is highly toxic or poisonous when we are going or forwarding from 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3 and 3 to 4. So this diamond is having 4 sections, that is a blue section, red, yellow and white. So this blue color indicates the health hazard. This red color indicates the fire hazards. This yellow color indicates the reactivity hazards, and this white color indicates the specific hazards. So this blue, it means health hazards. So from this data you can understand, you can read easily that from the health point of view, this particular chemical, if it is mentioned 0, it means it is a normal chemical. If it is 1, then it is slightly hazardous. If it is 2, then it is hazardous to the health. If it is 3, it is extremely dangerous to the health of a person. If it is 4, then it is deadly or dangerous or very dangerous to the health of a person. So from these numbers, if it is a diamond and having blue color, and if it is the number 2, so this 2 clearly indicates that this is the hazardous chemical and it can be dangerous to your health. In a similar way, where fire is a hazard, then you can identify this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. If it is 0, then will not burn, means it is a non-flammable material. If it is above 200 Fahrenheit flame point or fire point, then the number is 1. If it is between 100 to 200 degree Fahrenheit, then the number 2, and below 100 Fahrenheit, number 3, below 73 Fahrenheit, number 4. It means the fire point or flash point, if it is less, it means it can catch the fire easily. So it clearly indicates that it is a highly flammable chemical, that is 4 number, right? In a similar way, you can understand the reactivity data. If it is 0, then the chemical is stable as far as the chemical reaction is concerned. If it is 1, then it is unstable chemical if heated. So if there is a high temperature than the normal temperature, then that chemical become unstable. If it is 2, then it is a violent chemical change. If it is 3, so it is shock and heat may be detonate. So detonation is nothing but explosion. So chances of explosion after reaction, so that may happen, that can be indicated by the number 3. If it is a number 4, means there are chances of detonation, that is after reaction, after particular condition, there are chances of explosion. With detonation means the detonation speed is higher than the sound speed. And if it is white color, that is specific hazard, then you can understand from these chemical properties that may be acidity, that may be alkalinity, that may be corrosiveness, that may be oxygen level, DO, COD, BOD, etc. Then some of the properties like radioactive substances, and some are should not be contacted with the water. So you can understand the sodium metal, that sodium metal is always stored in the kerosene rather than the water thing, because we know that sodium is highly reacted with the water and it is a heat creating reactions. So due to heat, there is again the rate of reaction will be high and there will be chances of major accidents. So this sixth section clearly indicates the NFPA diamond, that is the reactivity data related to the health, fire, reactions and specific hazards. Then in the 7th section, there is a data which is related to the toxicity. Now we heard about the toxic substances, hazardous substances, poisonous substances, etc. But what exactly this number and properties indicates? Suppose if there is a label with TWA. So what is meant by this TWA? It is time weighted average. It means this number indicates that you can work for the 8 hours in the or within the permissible limits, right? So normally in industry, the shift is of 8 hours, and that is why these TW values are experimented or calculated for that handling purpose. So TW values are always related for the 8 hours. Then stale value is there, short term exposure limit. So this value is designed or experimented for the 15 minutes only. Means you can handle this chemical for that particular exposure limit for 15 minutes only. So if there is exposure more than 15 minutes, and if you are going to expose more than the permissible limits, which may be guided by the Maharashtra Pollution Control Board or some other rules, then there will be danger to the health of that person. And then there is a ceiling limit that is indicated by capital C. So it is the highest limit, that is permissible limit given by the MPCB or other sources. So it is less than 15 minutes. So here normally for normal working hours, that is 8 hours, there is a value of TW. For short term, that is for testing in the lab or etc., that is the limit, that is called as stale limit for 15 minutes. And for immediate action for seconds or minutes, there is a ceiling limit. So these values are indicated in the 7th section of this toxicological properties. And we must know the maximum permissible limits in this section. that is in terms of ppm, that is parts per million, or mg per meter cube, that is milligrams per meter cube. Then 8th section mentions about the preventive measures. What preventive measures should be taken while handling this types of chemical in case of accidents or any type of incidents? Then what is the safe procedure? How to handle, how to store this product, which type of PPE should be used while handling these products? All this information is given in the preventive measures, that is under 8th section. In the 9th section, we have already discussed that first aid treatment, first aid measures is given under this section 9. And 10th section, we have already discussed that whatever the points which is not covered under this 9th section, that should be covered under the 10th section. So that may be a location of MSDS, that may be a availability of hard copy or soft copy, where the computer, or what is the exact path of that particular soft copy in that particular computer or that mail, or whether this MSDS is updated within the 3 years or not. So all this information covered under the section 10. So these are the different 10 sections covered under the Indian MSDS, right? And we have already discussed about this trade secret exemptions, that trade secret or confidential data can be exempted by the industries for the MSDS, but in case of accident, if it is asked by the occupational health center staff or the doctors, then that should be provided to that doctors only. Now, what is the difference between this Indian MSDS and US MSDS? So from this slide, you can understand there are 16 points in the US or European MSDS, and in the Indian MSDS, there are 10 points. So we are not going to discuss all these details of these sections, but just go through these points. Section 1 is identification. Section 2 is hazard identification. Section 3 is composition or information ingredients. Section 4 is first aid measures. Section 5 is firefighting measures. Section 6 is accidental release measures. 7 is handling and storage. 8 is exposure controls or PPs. 9 is physical and chemical properties. 10th is stability and reactivity. 11 is toxicological information. 12 is ecological information. 13 is disposal consideration. 14 is transportation information. 15 is regulatory, and 16 is other. So in the US or European MSDS, there is a more information given in this MSDS. So just for example, transportation information, how to transport the chemicals, what is the safe way, what are the preventive measures, then ecological information, then some regulatory information, then some stability or reactivity data, then some chemical properties data, or specific section is there for firefighting, because in the Indian MSDS, fire and explosion is combined together. Here, the firefighting measures are separate one. So these are the some basic differences in this US and European MSDS. If you find on the Google regarding the MSDS of any type of chemical, so generally you will find this US or European MSDS, because Indian MSDS are not popular as compared to this European MSDS. But as far as these rules are concerned, we have to follow Indian MSDS at least. And if you are going to follow the European MSDS, then obviously these European MSDS are in more detail as compared to Indian MSDS. Now I will just show you the sample of this European MSDS, and then I will finish it. So I'm going to share this sample of European MSDS, that is US MSDS. Okay, is it visible and readable?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is one of the example of acetone. So it is SDS or MSDS. Now whatever we have discussed about this 16 points MSDS. So here section 1 identification. I will just go through now. I'm not going to discuss all these details. You can read out in under section 1 product identifier, then intended use of this product, name, address, telephone of the responsible party or company, emergency telephone numbers. Then section 2 hazard identification, what is the class of that substance or mixture. This is the label elements. So these diamonds are having their different meanings. Generally UN classification there, and under this UN classification there are 9 classes and there are different subclasses are also there. So all these symbols are utilized in this MSDS. So with the help of these symbols only you can understand which type of chemical is this and their details of these chemicals. Then other hazards and acute toxicity. Then third section, composition or information of these ingredients. So we have already discussed about this percentage of the chemical or the concentration. So here 50%, and case number is also given. Then section 4, first aid measures. General, after inhalation, after skin contact, after eye contact, after injections. So mainly there are 3+1, 4 routes of entry into the body. That is why this first aid is also guided with these 4 entries. Then most important symptoms and effects, both acute and delayed. Acute means in a short term and delayed or chronic means in a long term. So whatever the effects may be or chances of these effects, all these effects and their preventive measures or treatments are given in the first aid process. Then in the section 5, firefighting measures. So here suitable extinguishing media. So that particular extinguisher should be adopted or selected for that chemical only. Then special hazards data, that is fire hazard, explosion hazard and reactivity data. Then advice for firefighters, precautionary measures are also given, firefighting instructions, protecting during firefighting, hazardous combustion products, other information is also given. Then in the section 6, accidental release measures, that is personal precautions, then protective equipment, emergency procedure, non-emergency personnel, emergency personnel, environmental precautions, methods and materials for containment and cleaning up, how to clean these chemicals in case of spillage, then other references. Then in the section 7, handling and storage, how to handle safely these types of chemicals, how to store these types of chemicals. In some technical data, incompatibility data. Incompatibility or compatibility means what? The particular chemical A is compatible with B. It means they can store in the same place. But if A is reacted with B and if there is an exothermic reaction or some other reactions or if some toxic or poisonous gases are going to form, then these two chemicals are incompatible with each other. So that should be isolated or should be placed in a proper distance. That is compatibility data. This is also mentioned in this 7th section. Then in the 8th section, exposure controls or personal protection. So all these rules and regulations are as per the US or American. That is why it is called as ACGIH rule. And this ACGIH rule specialty is that it is updated every year, right? So all these data with reference to that maximum permissible limits are given. So I have already told you that this is in terms of ppm or in terms of mg per meter cube. That is TW value, stale value, PEL, IDLH value, etc. So all the values are given in the 8th section. Then exposure control, appropriate engineering control, what type of PPE should be adopted for that chemical. Then how to protect the person from the wearing this type of full body clothing, how to protect the hand, eyes, etc. Then under section 9, physical and chemical properties. So we are mostly knowing about these physical and chemical properties because we are studying these chemical and physical properties in the manufacturing of particular type of chemicals. So I'm just go through this flash point, auto ignition temperature, decomposition temperature, flammability, vapor pressure, vapor density. Because normally when we are studying in the diploma or degree, we are always asking that where the application of this type of properties. Now you can understand from these properties only, we are going to protect these people. We are going to treat some people and we are going to handle these types of accidents. So unless and until we are not knowing about these physical and chemical properties, we are not going to treat or control this type of accident in a proper way. Then section 10 is stability and reactivity. So we have already discussed all these things. Then 11 is the toxicological information. That is toxicity is the property of that chemical. That may be a acute, that may be a chronic, that may be related to the skin, the pH values, that may be a respiratory tract infection or other infection. Then this is the LC50 and LD50 values which we have discussed. Then in the 13th section, disposal, how to dispose that chemical if it is created as a waste. So these guidelines are given under this 13. Then transport information, which is lagging or missing in the Indian MSDS. So these are the UN symbols, UN classification symbols are mentioned. That is nothing but the diamonds with specific symbols and their meanings. All the details with symbols are given under the 14th section. And in the 15th section, regulatory information, which regulation is required for this type of MSDS and all this information. Now it is US or European, that is why it is US federal regulation. But in our case, it is MSIC rule 1989, it is MFR 1963 rule, and it should be Factory Act only. Right? And other regulations, these are the US regulations. And the 16 is nothing but the other information which is missing in the section 50, or if you want to note down in the MSDS, then you can add it in the section 16.